Kamala and Kamala and Pamela and Kamala all just had a nice press conference with Joe Biden. So as soon as somebody joins the chat room, I'll know that we are actually up and broadcasting. Earlier today, we had some difficulties. There's Lynn. Hopefully the YouTube room is up as well. And I'm going to check before we get going here and make sure that somebody from YouTube can get through here and chat so that I don't have to jerry-rig the system again. Let's see, I'm going to jump into YouTube myself over here. We'll get going just in a second, folks. In case you're watching for the first time, this is the live stream. Don't watch Trump without us. We include your chat, my commentary, lots of fact-checked, and every once in a while we have a very special guest. So Trump is about to get going here, and let's see if I am broadcasting on the YouTube. Clicking on that. This must be an error on to get going the restream end. Let's see if there's an echo of me. And yeah, so YouTube is not up and functional in terms of the chat window, so I'm going to put the YouTube chat window above me here. And I've got it saved from last time, so it shouldn't take too long. Now we make this idiot small, and we are good to go. So the YouTube chat is up there. If you want to join that, you can go to youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. Otherwise, over there is Twitch and Twitter and Periscope, and Facebook appears over there as well. For whatever reason, YouTube right now is not cooperating. YouTube is up there. Everybody else is on that side. Here's Mr. Trump. Let's see how he reacts. I'm sure it will be with dignity and grace.
And good evening. As we continue to confront the China virus, we're rebuilding America's economy like nobody thought possible, actually. We're doing incredibly well. Stock market's up almost 300 points again today. While our economy is performing significantly better than Europe, which people have to understand very strongly, it's performing better than any market anywhere in the world, actually.
It's not true.
At the same time,
the UK is down 20% last quarter. We were down 33% last quarter.
Europe has experienced a 40% higher excess mortality than the United States. And I will say that that's a significant number. We're working with Europe on their difficulties, and we are going to help them all the way. We're doing very well, as you know, in the vaccines and the therapeutics. But think of that. We have the strongest economy, performing economy in the world. We're up.
No, we
don't. I think it's $9 trillion since
We're
March.
not even. How can you say that?
That's a number that nobody's ever heard of before.
Hold on. All right, many countries never shut down. So for him to say that we have the strongest economy in the world it's a joke. Haha. Oh, he's doing stand-up today. That's super great. Something just made noise too. I'll be back, kids. Here, you watch.
Getting close to about a 50% number since March, which is incredible. So it's $9 trillion. It's almost 50%. In fact, I think it went above 50% today with the 300-point increase. And it's so we're doing much better than Europe, significantly. And at the same time, Europe has experienced a 40% higher excess mortality than the United States. I just want to mention, because another number of judges were approved recently, will be probably over 300 judges, federal judges, including Court of Appeals judges, approved by the end of my first term. And other than when they added new judges into somebody's term, which happens seldom, but we have more than any. There's a record. Nobody's ever seen anything like this in one term. So we're going to have over 300 federal judges, and that's Court of Appeals judges, and that's just in the first term. It probably will finish out over 300, which is pretty amazing. The stock market's rebound signals a V-shaped recovery, stronger than our competitors anywhere in the world, stronger. If you look, you'll see exactly what we have. We lead the world. Japan is second, but in terms of dollar value, it's not even close. So there it is. A lot of great competitors: Europe, United Kingdom, Japan, China, Hong Kong. The United States is leading the world very substantially. The second slide, you'll see the virus-induced economic contraction in the United States has been far less severe than it was with our peers and peer nations. And you see that right there. There's the United States. And that's despite the fact that we've done more testing than any other nation in the world, that we've done more by far ventilators. We're building thousands and thousands of ventilators a month, and we're distributing them all over the world. We're helping other countries. But despite all of these factors, the shallowest contraction, which is a big deal. I'm sure you'd love to put them in your various media outlets. I know you want to get that out. If you want to leave the room early and do that, that would be fine. The rapid recovery, but it would be nice to report it, the rapid recovery of
I've been muted this whole time. It's my birthday eve. Be nice to me. Here's a synopsis of my little rant right now. This is cherry-picking nonsense. Moving on.
I'd love to put them in your various media outlets. I know you want to get that out.
Yeah.
If you want to leave the room early and do that, that would be fine.
Okay.
The rapid recovery, but it would be nice to report it, the rapid recovery of home builders sentiment points to massive new construction, and we are doing massive amounts of construction of new homes, and that's because people have tremendous confidence. This is where we went, and the housing market has quickly rebounded. We were at a record, and now we're going to be at a record again very shortly. Those numbers are incredible. That's where we are. We had to turn off the economy, and now we're turning it back on, and that's...
Hold on. Let's go see what those are.
And the housing market has quickly rebounded. We were at a record, and now we're going to be at a record again very shortly.
That's just sentiment. That's the V-shaped recovery, and home builders' sentiment points to massive new construction. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we're actually building the same number of houses again, but that's... Oh, wow. Yeah, but that's what they show. The sentiment. Not reality, sentiment.
Those numbers are incredible. That's where we are. We had to turn off the economy, and now we're turning it back on, and that's beyond a V-shape. This is going to be...
And why did we have to turn off the economy? Because you didn't test people in February.
Very strong. It's called a strong V. Automobile demand has increased 65% over the last 3 months. 65% automobile demand. And we're anticipating that that's going to go up even further, but that's more than any...
Yeah, because it went down even further than that. So at some point it will come back. Yes, that's the way the virus works.
Anybody else? The manufacturing sector, remember, manufacturing is dead, according to the past administration of
No, they never said that.
Obama and
Never
Biden.
said it.
Manufacturing is dead. You need a magic wand. Well, you don't need a magic
No.
wand. You need
No, the magic wand comment was about certain jobs that were now obsolete. It's like saying, "Oh, they said the horse and carriage would never be back, and I saw horse racing."
competence and capability. The manufacturing sector is booming, and the production index is at the highest reading since October of 18, which was an extraordinary period of time. And there we are.
Look at what happened here. Look at this. That is a burn on Trump.
Manufacturing sector is booming, and the production index is.
Let's analyze this, folks. Okay, this is 2017. 18. Oh, look at the tax cut. What happened to manufacturing in the? Look at how it slid down. Look at that. We're going to shut down. We better ramp up. Oh no, we have the coronavirus. You know what? We've got to make up for 4 months. So let's pump manufacturing up again. But look at what happened under Trump. Manufacturing actually went up under Obama. Look at how it went down. This is when he starts, 2017. Watch it go down. We were in a manufacturing contraction. That's a great graph. I am 100% behind that graph. Good job, President Trump. Ouch.
At the highest reading since October of 18, which was an extraordinary.
The year of your tax cut that was supposed to create all this manufacturing energy, trickle down economics. If you give somebody with a lot of stocks, give a millionaire another $30,000 and he's going to buy a job for someone.
Period of time. And there we are.
And there we are.
Very good.
Look at me. Look at what I did with the manufacturing.
Nobody has seen until just recently, and now they're just coming out. These are numbers
because you killed it.
Leading, I guess, stock market people. They're very smart people. I know many of them, and they're seeing things that they don't even believe. So the manufacturing sector is booming, and the production index is at its highest reading.
Manufacturing is almost at the level that Obama had it at. Then I inherited it and, man, shot the shit on that.
In a long, long time. The economy generated over 9 million jobs.
What?
In the last.
Generated?
Things that they don't even believe.
Generated.
So the manufacturing sector is booming, and the production index is at its highest reading in a long, long time. The economy generated over 9 million jobs.
Nope, just generated
in the last 3 years, a record by far, and 12 million more jobs than experts predicted. So there you are.
Well, let's take a look at this one. Hold on, friends. If all you YouTubers were in a real chat room, I wouldn't have to keep moving this back and forth. You would do this to me on my birthday eve? Some kind of help is the kind of help that helping's all about. So let's take a look at this. Jobs boom in full swing. This is a 3 months change, national average. So they're using a baseline of 0. So, okay, so this is the economy generated over 9 million jobs in the last 3 months, a record large amount, which was 12 million more than market expectations. But what they've done here is create a baseline graph of 0, basically saying that 18 and 19, where job growth actually slowed under Trump compared to Obama, they're using that as a baseline. They're using a 3-month change. This is just manipulation of graphs. Oh boy, back to more.
Look at that, and that's a record, and it's a record for the quarter.
Look at that.
We had over 9 million, substantially more than 9 million jobs. So those are incredible numbers about our.
Oh, and almost 2 million jobs are gone forever. Permanent job gone, cut.
Our economy and how it's coming back. It's coming back very strongly. It's coming back at a level that's far greater than anybody anticipated. And we're very proud of that. And I give a lot of credit to all of our people, Steve and Larry, and we'll be talking about it if you have any questions on it. I shouldn't have any questions. I didn't print those charts.
Oh!
Who did? The economy generated, let's see, I don't know, we'll find that out for you. But
who did the charts? Yes, I have some questions for the chart guy. How come I am not a White House correspondent? It's not that I want to be, but I mean, honestly, I could use a job right now. Why aren't I in that room? And I hope that certain people are in that room because certain people understand those graphs and they will ask questions about them. I'm looking at you, Paula.
It wasn't us. We took those numbers from somebody. Where did you get those numbers, Larry? They're from where?
This is from BLS Jobs Report.
BLS Jobs.
Monthly Jobs Report.
He doesn't even know what the BLS is. It's a load of BS as far as everything that's Trump's concerned. I don't know if that was English, but you guys know what I meant.
July.
Okay, everybody has that. Everybody needs. The Democrats have abandoned the American people over the.
That, by the way, not all of those charts were from the BLS. Far from it. There were a number of different, which I quoted. There were a number of different sources those charts came from.
Simple subject of politics. Chuck.
Yeah, like Kudlow's going to give him a straight answer. They're from the BLS and FBI, KFC. $800, $1,200 for every American under your suitcase in a mattress. So, in that respect, my Larry Kudlow is just a Trump without the horse whisper.
Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are holding the American people hostage over money for their radical left-wing agenda that the country doesn't want and won't accept.
So who's giving the ransom? That's what I want to know. Like, if I'm being held hostage, who's going to pay for me? Apparently not this guy.
For example, they've asked for a ridiculous $3.5 billion, that's billion.
Trillion.
$3.5 billion.
Trillion.
For universal mail-in voting.
Oh, okay.
A system riddled by fraud and corruption. You just look at...
He's right, it is billion with a B, but that's probably not how much they asked for.
What happened with the Carolyn Maloney race. They should do that race over, by the way. I think her opponent...
I can't even look it up right now.
Opponent is right when he is having fits about that race. When you look at the ballots that are missing and the ballot frauds, nobody knows what's going on with that race, and yet they declared her a winner. So her opponent, I don't know what's happened over the last 24 hours, but her opponent is rightfully going a little bit crazy.
This is Trump every day. Wait for it.
The ballot frauds, nobody knows what's going on with that race, and yet they declared her a winner. So her opponent, I don't know what's happened over the last 24 hours.
There it is. That's Trump in a nutshell. I don't know what's happened over the last 24 hours.
But her opponent is rightfully going a little bit crazy. And then you look at what happened in Virginia, where they have 500,000 applications sent out at random to people that have no idea what happened. And they admitted they made...
Okay, fact check that. The HEROES Act, which passed 12 weeks ago now, 12 weeks, and we're still waiting on Mitch to put it up for a vote in the Senate, which will never happen. But the Democrats took care of the American people. There are $3.6 billion in there for all elections, not just mail-in ballots. And that includes, the bulk of it, is for making election and polling places safe for the workers. Buying the plexiglass, getting them the personal protective equipment, etc. All of the things that you want to happen, regardless of whether it's mail-in ballots or not. But yes, there are $3.6 billion allocated for that purpose, all election purposes, not just mail-in ballots. So I'm going to rate Trump fact-checked.
Made a mistake. And many were sent to dead people, many were sent to... number were sent, I guess two, that at least, 2, 3, 4, were sent to dogs. One was sent to a cat.
2 at least, 2, 3, 4. Just, if it's 2, it's 2. And if they were sent to dogs, don't let the dogs vote. Unless they're American citizens, and then prove it.
They're sent all over the place. That was in Virginia and Paterson, New Jersey. They had a massive amount of...
What, Rich? What beach are you going to? Come on, man. That's no fair. Bring us with you.
Fraud. And it's been a disaster. Paterson, New Jersey, has been a total disaster. That's universal mail-in voting. So they want $3.5 billion for universal mail-in voting for the country, where you have hundreds of millions of voters. They can't do a little race with 20,000 people. Now they want to take it countrywide mail.
Quick note, PayPal, Casey Lunny just sent me $10 through paypal.me/KevinLeeDad. Thank you very much for your support. I guess they watched the broadcast with Biden and Kamala. So come along, everybody, and do this. But I want you to hold on that, guys. If you want to support me, go to kevinleefather.com and you can become a patron there. You can send me money over PayPal here, and I appreciate that as well. More importantly, tomorrow is my birthday. And I don't want you to send me money on my birthday. Tomorrow I will be asking you to send some sort of financial assistance to booksandbricks.org. That is the charity that sends kids to school in Kenya, in Africa. So tomorrow will be charity day. Thursdays are going to be charity day from now on until I forget to do it. So hold on to your pennies for now. But Casey Lunny, thank you very much. I truly appreciate that. From this moment forth, everybody hold on to your monies, and we'll do something about that tomorrow. So be prepared.
In voting, it's going to be the greatest fraud in the history of elections. When you always talk about Russia, China.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iran on voting.
Yeah.
Your biggest problem is going to be with the Democrats, not with China, Russia, and Iran. Your
How dare they run against you?
biggest problem is going to be with the Democrats. But now the Democrats, they want $3.5 billion, think of it. But now that they're unwilling to
3.6.
approve a bill that gives all of that money. Of course, we would never approve an amount like that. And they also want $25
Never approve money for elections.
billion additional for the post office, Steve. $25 billion for the post office, so the post office can handle this vast amount of ballots that are being sent.
Don't know if he knows about it yet, but earlier today the House Oversight Committee put forth a bill to undo all the post officing that Trump has done in the last month or so with the DeJoy, his the guy he put in there who's rearranged the management structure in the post office. And they're now taking machines, mail sorting machines, out of post office for some reason. That's what's going on in America today. So he don't think he's heard about that because he would have railed against that already. But maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I am.
At random all over the place. They have no idea where they're going. So they want $25 billion, and they want, think of this, they want $3.5 billion. Would you say that's enough to cover it? I think we could do it for less, right? I think we could do it for less.
I'm going to talk to you, Dr. Howard, about the haircut thing. I don't know if my agent's going to be okay now that auditions are happening again, or at least one yesterday. I got to get a haircut. I'm just going to have to get a hair. I want to raise the money for charity. I don't know. Guys, I'll leave it up to you guys, or at least I'll ask you for you guys' opinion. Dr. Howard wants me to help raise, he's put a GoFundMe page together, which I think is wonderful, to help raise money for booksandbricks.org, the charity that I was talking about a few minutes ago. And the GoFundMe would raise $1,000 for the charity. And once we raised $1,000, Kevin Lee daughter, who doesn't cut hair, would cut my hair. So that was Dr. Howard's idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. Do you guys think that we could raise $1,000 to do that? Do you guys think we could make that happen? Knowing how many people are in here, knowing how many people, there's lots of people who watch but don't chat. Do you think we can do that, guys? Would you guys in the chat room or elsewhere, if you've never been in the chat room, you've never left a comment, jump in now and say, yeah, I would help do that. Because if that's the case, I could hold off for like another week, and if we could raise $1,000 in a week, Kevin Lee daughter could cut my hair, and then I've got a random haircut. Do we get to pick the haircut? No. I want to work at some point. So $1,000 and a wig, and we could talk. But I'll let you guys stew on that.
But they want $25 billion for the post office because of this. And remember, the new man who's a great person, a great businessman, just got there a little while ago. The post office has been run poorly for many, many decades. Great people in the post office, incredible people, but they've had very...
That's a wonderful idea from Shannon. By the way, Shannon's little girl, Kat, who is the cutest little girl in the world, I fact-checked that. If you've seen one of my Shut the Fact Up segments, it's her voice. She's not the girl with the megaphone. I should play that so you guys know what I'm talking about. I haven't done a lot of them. I think I've done one. But anyway, it's her little girl that does the voice. But she's saying $1,000 and Panda or Heavenly Daughter cuts my hair. $2,000. She does it blindfolded. $2,000 for charity? I think I would agree to that. If it raised $2,000 for Books and Bricks. And here's the thing, guys. October 3rd, we're going to have a big fundraiser, and I know I'm getting off topic here, but it's important, much more important than fuckface here. Books and Bricks is a charity that pays for kids' education in Kenya, Africa. They usually have a dinner every year, and at the dinner at the church in Seattle, they raise about $45,000. A little bit more comes in, and that's their budget for the year. And that's what they need. And it's all run by volunteers. There's no board that gets a bunch of money out of this charity. And my mother was involved in this charity while she was alive. It's a wonderful organization. The trouble is, they cannot have a dinner this year. You can't have a big dinner in a church hall, at least in Washington. They'd probably let it happen in Florida. There's the solution. So they don't have a means of raising the money this year. So on October 3rd, we are going to do a live stream, a regular live stream to raise money for this charity. So part of that, Dr. Howard's idea was we raise $1,000 and Heavenly Daughter cuts my hair. So we could do that with the caveat, if it gets to 2,000, she cuts it blindfolded, which... I don't know. And now Shannon is suggesting $3,000, and Kat, her daughter, she cuts my hair blindfolded. She might do. I mean, anybody blindfolded, really. Isn't that the great equalizer? Whether it be Heavenly Daughter or Shannonly Daughter, Stabbardly Daughter, isn't it all the same at that point? Whoever's blindfolded. Plus, do I get to wear like goggles if it's Kat? And are they just like kid scissors? How do we do that? I don't even see how that happens. $3,000 a cut and a dye job. Wow. So what? Maybe we come up with tiers. You guys do this. We come up with tiers. At $1,000 this happens. At $2,000. At $3,000, Kevin is left in tears. So think about that. We'll talk about that a little more tomorrow on my birthday when we concentrate on charity stuff. Let's get back to Trump for now.
Bad leadership for many years, so we'll get it straightened out. But they turned down this bill because they want radical left agenda items that nobody in their right mind would approve. So they want $25 billion for the post office. They want $3.5 billion for universal mailing. $3.5 billion, and the bill's not going to happen because they don't even want to talk about it, because we can't give them the kind of ridiculous things that they want that have nothing to do with the China virus. It has nothing at all to do with China virus, much of what they're asking for. So therefore, they don't have the money to do the universal mail-in voting. So therefore, they can't do it, I guess, right? Are they going to do it even though they don't have the money? They're asking for the $3.5 billion. They're asking for $25 billion for the post office so they can do this, I guess, and other things. At 25, I would hope it would be a lot of other things too. But therefore, they don't have it. They don't have the money to do the universal mail-in votes. It'll be the greatest rigged election in history. It'll be the greatest fraud.
Well, if they don't have the money to do it, and they're not going to do it, then it won't be the great. There's no logical. There's linear thought. Just doesn't happen with Trump. It doesn't exist. He cannot make connection to connection.
Fraud ever perpetrated, other than perhaps what they did to my campaign, where they spied on my campaign, President Obama, Biden, and everybody else. And they got caught. Let's see what happens. This will be
Yes,
one of the
let's.
greatest frauds in history.
Yeah, let's.
So they're admitting that
Still waiting.
they want $3.5 billion, and
What?
they're not
They're
going to
admitting to
do
that?
President Obama, Biden, and everybody else. And they got caught. Let's see what happens. This will be one of the greatest frauds in history.
Yeah.
So they're admitting that they want $3.5 billion, and they're not going to do a deal that's good for the American people. Therefore, they're not going to get the $3.5 billion. Therefore, they can't do the universal mail-in vote. It's very simple. How are they going to do it if they don't have the money to do it? The Democrats are...
For some reason, he seems to attribute wanting to hold the election to the Democrats. I mean, they are the Democratic Party. He never calls them that, but kind of big D, small d at the same time here.
also holding up money for schools and hospitals and small businesses and state and local governments. They tried to stop Americans from getting unemployment insurance and protection from evictions, which is
Drinking word is Democrats.
why I took this decisive action. And I did executive orders, which are now in full force and effect. And they're going forward. I signed a directive to provide a total of
He signed one executive order. The other three were memorandum.
$400
Memoranda.
of additional
Memorandum.
support for Americans who are unemployed due to the China virus. That's $400 more than the Democrats have provided. Remember,
No, no. In the House Heroes Act, $600 per week was provided by the Democrats. They passed it. They passed it. Trump says $400, including $100 from the states. The states mostly have said, we don't have that $100. We don't know where this $100 is per person. How many billions is that out of the state budgets? We're already broke. So he's claiming that he's providing $400 more than the Democrats. What I said on Monday was that the Democrats should immediately pass a bill that provides $200 in addition to the $400 so that they can say, we want to give you the $600. Even if Trump's thing is legal, you know what? We're not going to go after him in court for this. What's the point at this point? There is no point. Stop pointing. It's rude. Just say, yeah, okay, fine. Figure out how to get them that money, Mr. President. That's your thing. You figure it out, and we are immediately going to pass. Boom, here you go, Mitch. Put this up for a vote in the Senate, $200 additional, and let the Republicans vote down that $200. America is hurting right now. 25 to 30 million people don't have jobs. Another 30 million may be evicted within the next 30 days because his eviction executive order is nonsense. It's just, hey, HHS, take a look and see if there's anything we can do. Would you do that? Health and Human Services, HUD, if you Housing and Urban Development, take a look, see if there's anything we can do. That's all the executive order said.
$400 more than the Democrats have provided.
No, let's go back.
Support for Americans who are unemployed due to the China virus. That's $400 more than the Democrats have provided. Remember that. That's $400 more than the Democrats have provided. Nancy and Chuck haven't provided anything. And remember this,
I don't know. I've had $600 a week since goes back to March now. That has provided a lot. Thank you very much.
President Obama, when we had a problem, a pretty big problem, a very big problem, you know what he gave? $25. He gave $25.
2 people died from Ebola. 2 people who contracted it here in this. Anyway, that's 4 altogether if you want to count all the Americans. 4 people. This is what that looks like in a graph. So go up to the top of your screen. That's the first bar. That's how many Americans have died because of COVID. And then the graph showing the number of Americans who died of Ebola, it's not there because you couldn't see. The printer would, no screen would show you 4 and 160,000. They wouldn't even be on the same graph.
So now they say, well, we want to give 500 or we want to give 600. They don't want to give anything. They're not doing.
Unless you were Larry Kudlow and you took number of Americans who died during presidency as a baseline of 0, then they'd be very, very close. Just take a baseline 0 graph and put them, see?
doing anything. But President Obama and Biden, Sleepy Joe, gave $25, 25. And they'll complain, oh, we want to give more. Well,
Dr. Howard, I don't know, you're not showing any screen so that you are aware. Not showing any screen. What screen am I showing?
giving.
Oh, the graph. Yeah, no, if you're saying I'm not showing a graph, yeah, I'm not. There is no graph. That's what I'm saying. You can't put 4 and 160,000 on the same graph. 4 will not be represented. It'll just be the number 4 with no actual color there, because it's like looking, if you're standing back and looking at the Empire State Building, you can't see a penny on the ground. You're too far back. Perspective will not allow that to happen.
$400, and that's now in the works.
Wait, did he just call Biden president?
People soon. Sleepy Joe gave $25, 25, and they'll complain. Give 500, or we want to give 600. They don't want to give. They don't want to give anything. They're not doing anything. But President Obama and Biden, Sleepy Joe gave $25, 25, and they'll complain. Oh, we want to give.
Sorry, I was reading.
We want to give 600. They don't want to give. They don't want to give anything. They're not doing anything. But President Obama and Biden, Sleepy Joe gave $25, 25.
President Obama and Biden.
And they'll complain, oh, we want to give more. Well, we're giving $400, and that's now in the works.
That's
and
fine.
That'll be getting out to the people soon, Steve, okay? Remember that, $25 is what they gave the last time, 25.
And this time, it's been $600 a week. You're giving $400.
I want to make it unmistakably clear that I'm protecting people from evictions. They didn't want to do that. The Democrats.
I disagree, Dr. Howard. I think it would be Presidents Obama and Biden if he was referring to both of them.
Didn't want to do a protection from evictions. People getting evicted because of the coronavirus or the China virus, whatever you want to call it. We have 20, now we're up to 21 different names. All we know is it came out of China and it shouldn't have. They should have stopped it. Under my executive order.
He came into the U.S. and he didn't stop it. There's 5 million cases now, but he thinks China should have stopped it.
HUD, HHS, and CDC have been directed to ensure renters and homeowners that they can stay safely in their homes. They're not going to be evicted. They are not going to be evicted. And those letters have already been sent out, Steve, so you'll make sure of that. I'm providing a payroll tax.
Those letters have already been sent out, Steve. You'll make sure of that. Steve has a time machine. This is exciting.
Holiday to all Americans earning less than $100,000 per year, meaning bigger paychecks for working families through the end of 2020.
But you still owe that money. That $1,200 he's talking about to the average employee, it's not a tax holiday. You still have to pay that tax. You're just not paying it right now. You're going to pay it later. So a lot of business owners, if I was the business owner myself, and I've owned businesses before, I would ask my employees, hey, do you want me to keep the tax and just keep it in an account to send it in when they ask for it? Because if I don't, you're going to get a bill. Is that what you want? And most people would say like, no, if it's not my money, don't even give it to me. I don't want to deal with it. Of course not, because then right after Christmas, you're going to bill from the government for $1,200.
That's
which, by the way, will end up costing the government just as much to collect all of that. So a lot of businesses are not even going to pass the payroll tax on, the payroll tax deferment on. See, it's such nonsense.
Tremendous amount of money that's being supplied.
It's Steve Mnuchin. He is the Secretary, Trish. So yes, he is the Secretary of the Treasury.
And given to families. Tremendous. The Democrats didn't want to do a payroll. We're
going to give it to the families. We're going to say, hey, we got some money for you. Hold on to that. Don't spend it. We're going to want it back. Don't. Okay, now. There you go. Wasn't that fun?
Tax. They thought it was too much money, I guess. Or it would make businesses too successful. They don't want to see success. They certainly don't want to see it before the election. They certainly don't want to see the kind of graphs and charts that you saw up there. They don't, because they say they can't win with that kind of success. They can't win. They have to get used to it. Remember, we've already gotten $3 trillion in stimulus, so.
But by the way, when the coronavirus first started, this is exactly what I said would happen. The economy was going to crash, things would be bad, and then he'd immediately start taking credit and make it sound like he was a miracle worker when the economy started inching back. Exactly what I said was going to happen, but I'm not taking credit for it because I know that everyone with any sense knew that was what was going to happen.
They should have probably negotiated a little bit differently. Maybe they should have asked for all of this before we got most of the money and we gave it out, a lot of it to the people.
What?
When we win the election, when I win the election, I'm going
Does anybody know what that means?
to completely and totally forgive all deferred payroll taxes without in any way, shape, or form hurting Social Security. That money is going to come from the general fund. We're not going to touch Social Security. I said from day one.
The general fund it comes from income tax and tariffs on American brokers and importers. So the payroll tax does fund Social Security, etc. But he's saying he's not going to hurt any of that because he's going to take it out of the general fund. The money for Social Security goes into the he's going to forgive all of that if he wins the election. Again, that's a bribe. I'm going to give you $1,200, and if you vote for me, you get to keep it. That's bribery. You cannot buy votes. Or can you?
That we're going to protect Social Security and we're going to protect our people. And so.
And the ridiculous part of it is he could just sign a stimulus bill. He could just send everybody $1,200 like he did before. It wouldn't be a problem at all. It'd fly through Congress. It's been done before. Bush did it. Obama did it. I don't know. No, of course Clinton didn't do it. Clinton had a surplus. He was a Democrat. He had a surplus.
Social Security is one of the things that will be protected. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. Medicare will be protected.
Finally.
But Social Security will be totally protected under me. Under them, it will not be protected because we will have a stock market crash, the likes of which you've never seen.
The stock market does not pay for Social Security.
Taxes will be doubled and tripled.
That would pay for Social Security. Not going to happen, but that would pay. Taxes pay for Social Security. That's how the whole system works.
And your regulations will go through the roof, which is what was causing the problems with the country in the first place. Student loans. I signed a direct.
Now, hold on. Was it regulation or was it the China viruses are causing all the country the problems?
Providing relief to student borrowers. Not their fault that they can't go to college.
If they're paying back their student loans, they're done with college. That's how it works. We all didn't have daddy paying for college.
I will be deferring payments on student loans at zero interest until further notice. So we're going to take care of our students. Got a lot of great students out there, and
they're not students anymore. If they're paying their student loans, they are not students anymore.
They got hit like everybody else.
Am I wrong on that, guys? Is there anybody? What if you do undergrad and then you become a graduate? Is there somebody out there who's paying back the undergrad thing? That wasn't the way it worked when I did all this. You got it, and you got financial aids, and you paid it for the rest of your life, but not while you were in school. That was the whole point. You needed the money in school because you weren't making any money because you were a student. It's not difficult to figure out. But if I'm wrong on that, please somebody let me know.
So I will be deferring payments on student loans at zero interest until further notice. And on the payroll tax, we'll be terminating the payroll tax after I hopefully get elected. We'll be terminating the payroll tax, so that will mean...
One of the reporters has to ask, how is that not buying a vote? Well, because it's black and white.
Anywhere from $5,000 to even more per family and also great for businesses and great for jobs. A lot of people will be very happy to hear that.
I will give you $5,000 if you vote for me. That's what he's saying. And
of the great, certainly conservative economists will be great to have. They think that's the greatest thing we can do. That's better than the payments. That's better than anything else.
no,
But it's a lot of
not.
money, and it's going right directly to the people, and it goes there very easily. But it also creates stronger.
Thank you, D. That is exactly what I thought happened, because that is what happened to me as well. And that's the only thing that makes any sense. But again, common sense doesn't apply to Trump. He doesn't have it.
Companies to employ the people. So we will be, on the assumption I win, we are going to be terminating the payroll tax after the beginning of the new year.
Oh, whoa.
Today I met with
Whoa. Now, he's talking about terminating the payroll tax. He's not talking about forgiving the temporary loan, the holiday, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Terminating the payroll tax means, no more Social Security, etc.
with parents, students, teachers, and health experts to discuss the vital importance of safety and safely reopening America's schools. This evening I'll outline the common sense recommendations that should guide schools as they reopen with precautions. We want to be very, very safe and very careful, so precautions in place. Our strategy to safely reopen schools mirrors our approach nationwide as we race toward the competition and the completion. We're competing with others, but I'm not competing with anyone. We just want to have a vaccine. We're dealing with other. Our strategy to safely reopen schools.
By the way, there's like a chart behind him, but Fox isn't showing it. I don't know. Oh, it's a chart about how to get back to school.
Mirrors our approach nationwide as we race toward the competition and the completion. We're competing with others, but I'm not competing.
That's he read completion as competition, and then we begin with the verbal kitty litter. These are my favorite parts, when he reads something wrong and then tries to work it in. Let's go back. Let's
Safe
enjoy.
and very careful, so precautions in place. Our strategy to safely reopen schools mirrors our approach nationwide as we race toward the competition and the completion. We're competing with others, but I'm not competing with anyone. We just want to have a vaccine.
We're competing with us, but I'm not competing with anyone. As we race towards the competition and the completion. He's such a... Not only... Okay, everybody makes mistakes while reading. It happens. But don't try and make it like you didn't make a mistake, because everybody can tell. We're racing towards the competition, but we're not in competition.
It's in place. Our strategy to safely reopen schools mirrors our approach nationwide as we race toward the
MERS?
open with precautions. We want to be very, very safe and very careful, so precautions in place. Our strategy to safely reopen schools mirrors our approach nationwide as we race toward the competition and the completion. We're competing with others, but I'm not competing with anyone. We just want to have a vaccine. We're dealing with other countries, and we want them to do well. We're giving them whatever information they need. We're all working toward something that will happen before the end of the year, maybe substantially before, but before the end of the year. And therapeutics will happen likewise even sooner. But we're looking for that responsible path forward to shelter those at highest risk while allowing those at lower risk to resume work and school and play football. Go play football. I spoke to some of the great football players, college players, Trevor, and a lot of great players called Coach.
Usually he does come up with one example. He spoke to one person. Spoke to Trevor, but so many other. Oh yeah, tons. Trevor and others. Oh, so many football players.
Coach called, Coach O. A lot of fantastic people I got to speak to, athletes, leaders. They want to play football.
Uh-huh.
Let them play. Let them play. And they feel safer on the field than they do walking around and doing nothing. So hopefully
Well, they're not.
that will happen. And hopefully when they play football, they will proudly stand for the national anthem, and they
And if
will
they don't?
proudly stand and respect the American flag.
And are you going to stop watching?
Or at least I'm not watching. I can't speak
Good.
for others, but based on what I see now and based on what
So America needs football unless they don't stand, and then he's not watching. So really, carbon neutral.
I'm looking at with respect to the NBA at this point, a lot of people agree with me. So we want people, we would like to request people, you stand proudly for the flag and for the national anthem. In the months since the virus arrived, we've learned a great deal. While this is a dangerous and highly infectious disease, it primarily affects the oldest segment of our population or those with chronic health issues. The United States has the largest nursing home and assisted living home population in the Western world by far. Nearly half of all of the deaths from the China virus in the United States have occurred in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. The median age of those who succumb to the virus is 78 years old. These findings underscore that all Americans must continue to apply.
Yeah, so NBA ratings are up 14% over last year.
China
I wish Trump would boycott me. I'd be so successful.
virus in the United States have occurred in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. The median age of those who succumb to the virus is 78 years old. These findings underscore that all Americans must continue to apply extreme vigilance in protecting our elderly population and those with chronic conditions. Outcomes are very different for younger Americans without serious health issues, tremendously different. They can often expect mild or moderate symptoms or even no symptoms whatsoever. They have very strong immune systems. We've learned even more so than we ever thought. In a
The
typical year,
opposite.
approximately 5 times as many Americans under the age of 65 die from heart disease as have so far been lost to the coronavirus from the same age group. That's an interesting statistic.
Is it though? Yeah, so heart disease is a problem, and we try and get people to eat healthily, and we pass laws to that effect, and we don't let polyunsaturated fats get into the... I mean, yeah, so that's a problem. Also, car crashes kill, and also guns. 32,000 people a year die from guns, whether suicide or not. Guns kill 32,000. All right, and now COVID in 6 months has killed 165,000 at least. Right now, a bigger cause of death than heart disease. But yeah, no, is this like a seminar on heart disease now?
Blessedly, children appear to face the lowest risk of all.
When it comes to heart disease, yes.
It's 99.995% of all fatalities are adults. Think of that. 99.9.
I can't even. My brain says 99.995% of all fertilities. I don't even know what Englishing happened right there. What was that word?
Blessedly, children appear to face the lowest risk of all.
A clear?
It's 99.99.
So I gotta go back
so far
again.
been
Sorry.
lost to the coronavirus
Yeah.
from the same age group.
Yeah.
It's an interesting statistic.
Interesting. Yeah.
Blessedly, children appear to face the lowest risk of all.
Yeah.
It's 99.995% of all fatalities are adults. Think of that. 99.95.
Fatalities. When your power goes out and then you suffer from fatalities until the workers come and put your wires.
That is extremely close to 100% of all fatalities are adults. Children.
Did he just say it again? It's fatalities, right? Is fatalities a thing? Am I going completely nuts here? Fatalities? Somebody look up fatalities. It's not a word, is it? Fatalities.
Often have only mild symptoms, and medical complications are incredibly rare.
One death is too many. One death is too many. But 99.995%, which leaves, a few hundred kids.
Very, very, very rare. Those that do face complications.
But one death is too many. He says that all the time, and nobody reports it. Nobody reports it, but he says it all the time.
Complications often have underlying medical conditions. In each of the last 5 years, the flu resulted in more deaths of those under 18 in the United States than have been lost thus far to coronavirus, by far. The flu. The flu does kill young people. Given these considerations,
and
we believe many school districts can now...
You know what? We take preventative actions against it. And when there is a flu outbreak, they close schools where there are flu outbreaks. It does happen. With the swine flu, for instance, more than 100 schools around the country closed because the swine flu got in there. And we have flu shots. And we encourage people to get those vaccines to prevent flu from spreading and killing young people and old people. So, preventative measures.
Reopen safely, provided they implement mitigation measures and health protocols to protect families, protect teachers, and protect students. All families should be empowered to make the decision that is right for their own circumstances. This is especially important if a child has underlying health conditions or lives with a parent or grandparent who is at a high risk. And one of the things we'd like to do is when we make payment to schools, because we spend a lot of money on schools, we'd like to make the payment directly to the student or to the child.
This is to the school choice thing. So people with a lot of money who send their kids to private school, they generally tend to be Republicans. Not always, of course, but the majority. And they have long been donating money to get the kids into private school. And the reason Trump loves it so much is because Betsy DeVos, who's made millions off of private schools because she has private schools, she wants it so that that money can be not taken out of parents' pockets, but out of the general fund. So you take the money away from the public schools and give it to the private schools. And if you happen to have a family that owns a bunch of private schools, you're in good shape.
And that would mean to the parents essentially, but to the child. We want to follow the child so that if a school is closed, the family can go to another school, maybe in another area, but they can do it, and would like to make that payment. Rather than paying a school that's closed, would rather pay directly. We're following the child, where the child goes, and we want to pay the family, pay the child, and then the family can take care of the cost. And we're trying to get that approved too, but the Democrats don't like doing anything unless it means doing for the union, which controls Nancy and controls Chuck 100%. And I have nothing wrong with the union. I have great respect, very few people do I respect more than a great teacher. It's a tremendous talent. They're really underappreciated. These are phenomenal people with tremendous talent. The great ones are among the most important people we have in this country. And they'll be great at charter schools, and they'll be great at...
Is he still doing schools?
When we talk about school choice, which we'd like to see so that parents can take their children to the school of their choice, that's something we want. We think it's very important, especially in the minority communities. They want it so badly. African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, they want it so badly. But the two people I mentioned, Nancy and Chuck, they're totally controlled by the heads of the union. I think the teachers like us a lot. We're taking care of our teachers. We want to take care of our teachers. But we cannot indefinitely stop 50 million American children from going to school and harming their mental, physical, emotional, and academic development and inflicting long-term lasting damage. I heard a gentleman today, a great person, some of you were at that meeting, from Harvard, say that every year is $10,000. It's people, they lose a tremendous amount of money in the future. Mentioned $10,000. And I think he was talking about on a yearly basis, they lose a lot by every year of education that they lost. Every year they gain $10,000.
It was 10%. And the study, by the way, doesn't even have to do with if you miss a year of school. It's 10% of your lifetime salary, not $10,000. This man is a fucking idiot. That was like an hour and a half ago. And the guy repeated it. And Trump heard $10,000 instead of 10% of your life. Every year of school that you don't go to, college, high school, whatever. You have the potential of making 10% more for every year of education that you have. That's an average. And that's believable. It's not saying that, like, if you stay at home versus going to school, there's no study that shows that. I mean, homeschool kids in general do very well because, well, there's a number of factors for that. 10%, not $10,000.
When you have students sitting at home playing with a computer, it's not the same. That's one thing we've learned for sure. It's not the same, can never be the same as.
So he thinks, in Trump's head, if you're homeschooled, every year you are homeschooled, you lose $10,000. I bet the guy wasn't even from Harvard. I don't remember. I wasn't listening that carefully. I was grocery shopping and it was in my ear and I wasn't listening. But it's 10%, not 10,000.
Being in a classroom. So we want to get our students in the classroom. The American Academy of Pediatrics has released guidance, recommendation that schools reopen. They said reopen.
No.
It said, quote.
Nope. Whatever he's going to quote right now, it is guided by if there is community spread in that area. We do not want the kids to go back to school. That's what the Pediatrics Association said. And they reiterated that after the last time, the whole like, oh, we got to reopen the schools. And Kellyanne Conway was out there and Kayleigh Macaroni was out there saying, oh, look, the American Association of Pediatrics. And they're like, oh, this got to go to school. Most important, got to go to school. They just ignore the part that says, not if there's community spread.
Lengthy time away from school and associated interruption of supportive services often results in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits.
Yes.
The doctors also warned about the risk of increased abuse.
The doxers? The internet trolls that give out your private info?
Services often results in social isolation, making it difficult for schools to identify and address important learning deficits.
You know, the doxers will identify people. That's what they do.
The doctors also warned about the risk of.
They have people that they are medical staff, but they have this really long body and tiny little legs. They're called doxers, and they're adorable. I love them. Sometimes I call them wiener docs.
Increased abuse, substance use, depression, and suicide. Suicide. The National Education Association recently stated, despite the momentous efforts of educators during the pandemic, online learning has never been an effective replacement for in-person learning and support. So when you sit at home in a basement looking at a computer, your brain starts to wither away.
Does anybody have their kids in a basement?
We have a lot of good experience.
Go downstairs with your Uncle Joe and do your homework. I don't know who's living in Joe Biden's house. Joe Biden's brother, apparently, lives with Joe Biden, in my head, and sends the kids down to the basement to do the school. Oh, Joe's down there. Hey, I'm doing an interview. Can he do it? Can he do it in the garage?
that just by taking a look at
This is all happening up here right now.
what's happening in politics. Studies estimate that school closures last spring caused the average student to fall 50% behind in math and roughly 35% in reading compared to a typical year. Think of that.
Makes sense though, because kids are small, and basements, sometimes they have those half basements. That's really what it should have. By the way, for much of my life, for about 6 years of my life, my room was in the basement, but it was awesome. Because you can sneak out of a basement window.
Caused the average student to fall
Hi, Dad.
50% behind in math and 35% in reading compared to being at the school, being with your teachers, being in a classroom. We've learned that. We've learned that learning from a laptop is not great. And frankly, we've also learned that telehealth, little unrelated, but it's up 35,000%, and it's been incredible. 35,000%. We'll check that number, Larry, but that's an incredible. But it
Yes, let's check that number. Hold on.
is. People are staying home, and the telehealth, that has been a tremendous success.
Because earlier today, he came up with a number, and I want to say it was 3,500%, but let's see if it's actually 35,000.
We've learned those two things during this period of time with the plague coming in, and those are two things we know. School closures harm low-income students the most because they have less access to high-quality remote learning. They don't have computers and less resources for academic support. All schools should be making plans to resume in-person classes as soon as possible. To support the reopening of America's schools, we provided $13 billion in elementary and secondary schools toward the CARES Act and CARES Act funding. We're giving CARES Act funding, the vast majority of which remain available for states to use. So a tremendous amount of money, $13 billion. That's the CARES Act funding, and we're giving a large portion of that for states to use. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we will provide.
Yeah, I'm right. Earlier today, he talked about telehealth and said it was up 3,500%. There's the...
We've also learned that telehealth is very good. Telehealth is up 3,500%. It's can you imagine that 3,500?
So, this afternoon, 2 hours ago, it was 3,500%. Now it's 35,000%. That's an increase of 2,000 billion zillion percent. And it's possible. It's also possible that during that 2 hour span, a lot of people called their doxers.
Up to 125 million reusable masks to various.
So in the span of about, I don't know, maybe the 30 seconds real time, because we keep pausing, I keep pausing. I'll take responsibility. This is going on for like 20 hours. He's probably still talking. Hold on. Let me just check and see if he's even doing, I don't have that screen. So 10% became 10,000 in his head. 10% of your lifetime earnings became $10,000 in his head. And 3,500 became 35,000. And then he says, check that number. How does anybody sitting right there say, no, well, earlier you said 3,500, but it was, the actual number is, those are some beautiful clothes, Emperor Trump.
School districts all around the country. My administration also stands ready to deploy CDC teams to support schools that are opening and schools that need help in safety and in order to safely reopen. Finally, today, my administration is highlighting general recommendations for all schools and guidance to protect high-risk teachers and students. We're working very, very closely with many of the schools and school districts throughout the country.
What
They
else?
include the following: to ensure all students, teachers, and staff understand the symptoms of the China virus. Require all students, teachers, and staff to assess their health every morning before coming to school, encourage frequent hand washing or hand sanitizing during the school day, beginning upon entrance to school.
The skull day? Is that like a Harvard secret society that he couldn't get into?
And ensuring that hand washing facilities are widely available throughout the school. And for the most part, schools have been very good at that. Minimize large indoor gatherings, hold large gatherings outdoors whenever possible, maintain high standards of hygiene and ventilation within the classrooms, including keeping windows and doors open whenever possible, and running fans and air conditioning units
December in Wisconsin, that sounds totally feasible.
whenever possible. Require students, teachers, and staff to socially distance
Hand washing facilities.
around high-risk individuals and socially distance whenever possible.
Wait, did he say head washing?
Air conditioning
You guys are like
gathering.
you guys are like a minute behind me. You guys are like a minute behind me. You guys are like a minute behind me. You guys are like a
Outdoors whenever possible. Maintain high standards of hygiene
guys are
and
like a minute
ventilation
behind me.
within the
you guys
classrooms,
are like a
including keeping windows and doors open whenever possible, and running fans and air conditioning units whenever possible. Require students, teachers, and staff to socially distance around high-risk individuals and socially distance whenever possible in any event.
yeah.
Encourage the use of masks when social distancing is not possible.
No, all the time.
Post instructions regarding hygiene and social distancing all over the school and all around the school.
You know, for the people who can't read yet.
We encourage schools to adopt these measures. We've been working with so many of them, and to the best of my knowledge, virtually every one of them agrees to do that.
To the best of his knowledge.
While we're also providing high-risk teachers and students options to engage in distance teaching or learning. We're working on that also. College-age students also continue to be one of the lowest risk demographics. More than 99.8% of the deaths from this horrible disease,
Yeah.
the invisible enemy, we call it,
Right.
occur in people over 24 years of age. Think of that, 99.8% occur in people over 24 years of age. For this reason, it could be safer for them to live at a school rather than live with their older parents or grandparents. We got to go to school. We got to open up. We got to open up our schools and open up our businesses. And a lot of it has been open, but we can do better. As we move forward, the number of cases is not by any means the most important metric to focus on, because the fact is
So, what was that number? Hold on, the calculator just appeared. So, 330 people under the age of 20 have died, according to Trump. So, yeah, let's get them back into school, because every life matters. All lives matter. Every single one. And one life lost to the coronavirus is too many. 330 under the age of 24. That's if we trust Trump's. Hold on. Actually, let's do some Trump math on that. So 330, which is really times 3,500% times $10,000 is 11,000 million people would have died if he didn't shut down travel to Finland.
we have more cases because we have far more testing than any country in the world. There's no country that's even close.
China.
We've done more testing
Russia.
and better testing than any country. And many of these countries that the media was putting up as a shining example of success, they're right now in massive outbreaks. You see what's going on in
Are they?
many of the countries that you constantly mention. Far more important is who the virus is infecting.
Hold on.
That's why our strategy and attention are focused on preventing the cases that are most likely to require hospitalization or
This is from the New York Times today. Reported coronavirus and all these. Oh, France is having out. Oh, this. Oh, everything's terrible. Yeah, hold on. I can bring this over. I don't want to. This is from the New York Times today. France, deaths today from the coronavirus. Yesterday, sorry, 0. United Kingdom, 0. Canada, 4. Germany, 6. Italy, 6 deaths, and that's terrible. 1 death is too many. He says that all the time, and the media never reports that. So all of those countries that the media was holding up as shining examples, 6 people died in Italy. Yesterday in the United States, 1,450 people died from the coronavirus. But Spain could have more than 6. In all fairness, if you took that number, for example, and because the United States has a population of 330 plus million, so if you're going to be fair about it, you'd have to say Canada would have 40 deaths, which is just about the same as 1,450, given the same population. I try and be fair. I always try and be fair. Here's the chat room again.
Result in death, those that afflict the elderly and those with certain underlying health conditions, all the while acting to prevent hospital overcrowding. If you look at some of the states that had a flare-up recently, they're all doing very well. Florida's going down rapidly. I want to give a lot of credit to the governors. Florida's going down, and Arizona.
Governor DeSantis didn't do anything. The people of Florida are like, holy shit, this thing's going nuts. Let's stay inside for a little while.
Is going down, way down. They've done a fantastic.
Wait, who's going way down?
Very well. Florida's going down rapidly. I want to give a lot of credit to the governors. Florida is going down, and
see if I can keep him going.
Arizona is going down, way down. They've done a fantastic job. California, as you know, is going down. And many other locations, it's doing very well. And many locations are really in fantastic shape. Some with very little of any problem. Large portions of the United States. Those advocating for a never-ending blanket nationwide lockdown have no answer.
Okay, nobody's advocating for a never-ending lockdown. Nobody. Let's take a look at some states doing fabulously. Okay, new cases per million in Florida, 302 per million. Canada, last I looked at, was 8. New cases per million, California, 199. Positivity rate, 6.2. Florida's positivity rate is 17%. They're doing great. Arizona's positivity rate is 12%. Texas's positivity rate is on the way up. It's 24.2%. 2 weeks ago, it was 11%. But a lot of places are just doing... Why can't he just say, like Pamela Harris, that a lot of places are in bad shape and that more than 1,000 Americans are dying every single day from this virus? That's reality.
For what it would do to the mental, physical, and social health of millions of American children and people. This includes parents where they have to stay home with their children because they lose their work and they lose their job. Because their children isn't at school. They have to have somebody to take care of it, and they want to take care of their child.
Because their children isn't at school. I gotta write that down. Sorry, guys. We'll listen to that again.
People. This includes parents where they have to stay home with their children and they lose their work and they lose their job.
Because their children
isn't at school. They have to have somebody to take care of it, and they want to take care of their child. They don't trust people. A society must put the health and safety of our children first. A man who has the respect of everybody, he's highly respected by me and anybody on this subject, He's the expert. Dr. Scott Atlas is here from Stanford, and he's been working with us for a period of time, and I thought it would be great. He was saying things to me the other day. I said it would be great if you could.
Is he even going to take questions here? Because I know it lasts for an hour because I just checked C-SPAN, but does he take questions from the press?
Tell that to the media. So this is the first time I've shared the
Normally I have one or two fact checkers open on my screen over there, but because you YouTubers are screwing everything up today, I can't do that. But let's move on. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm looking forward to questions, but this is just taking forever, and it's all nonsense, one after the other, because their children isn't at school.
platform. And it's an honor to do so. Scott is truly, he's a brilliant man. He's a wonderful man. And he.
Good night, Green Room. Everybody in Ireland, Belgium, Australia, Merry Christmas. I think it's already my birthday. It's already my birthday in Australia. So everybody in Australia, wish me a happy birthday.
Cares about this subject very much, and I'd like to ask Scott to come up.
Nanny,
please, and
I
say-
know this is above and beyond. Anybody who's still sticking around through all this, it's above and beyond. I'm just entertained by this. This makes me laugh because I'm a sociopath and I don't care about anything, I guess. Oh, here comes Scott.
Few words. Thank you, Scott.
I believe that children is the future. Oh, thanks, D. Yeah, he takes questions here, so cool.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I believe that children is the future. Teach it right and let him know the gaze.
It's obviously a great honor to be here and great honor to serve this president who's really focused on the very important parts of the pandemic. And I'm new here. I'm just sort of getting involved, but I want to thank you and the vice president and the entire team, the task force team, and all the people who are not very visible, really, for
Their children isn't in school. Rivals like, you is such an idiot.
working so hard. These people are working 24/7, and it's quite amazing. And I think today we had a fantastic event that I'll just mention on opening the schools, because the president's priority is to open the schools and open them safely and have parents have the options to
Let's do this.
either use open schools or do whatever they can to eventually get back to open schools, including any kind of hybrid or other arrangement they may want to do. It was a great event. We had a
By the way, at that event to which the doctor's referring, Trump called, I'm trying to remember specifically what word he used. I remember the percentages, I remember the numbers. He called the hybrid approach, he called it ridiculous or something like that. Like, why not just make up your mind, go to one or the other? So yeah, he criticized the hybrid approach. He said it really doesn't work, especially from a managerial point of view for the schools.
a group of fantastic parents, teachers, medical experts, and it went very well. And so I won't spend a lot of time up here, but thank you very much, and I hope I can help out in some way. Thank you.
Nice. So the doctor comes up and doesn't say anything. Just basically, thanks, I'm out of here.
Steve, thank you.
You mentioned the executive orders that you signed. Are we now
Oh, good. We got questions. Okay, finally we're at the questions phase. I just can't get over because their children isn't at school.
likely to see any more stimulus legislation before the election?
Well, we're giving $400, and we are in constant touch with governors also, who they'll be making perhaps a contribution. They have options. They can do it or they don't have to do it. I think most of them will do it. We're also
I haven't seen a single governor say that they've got the money to chip in. It's emergency funding.
doing a payroll tax cut, which is a massive number. That's a very big number. And that's a number that's bigger than any of the numbers we talked about. And the beauty of that is it really incentivizes companies, and because
The number that they're talking about, $1,200 per person, X number per child, that number is just 2 weeks of previous unemployment supplement. So I don't know why he's saying bigger than anybody's ever talked about. That's beyond ridiculous.
It's both a company cut and a employee cut.
It is
So that really very much incentivizes people.
It's not a company cut. Your company usually takes that money before it gives it to you and gives it to the government, essentially to you, because you're going to get Social Security, God willing.
To go back to work and work hard, and the company to hire people back. And we've had some of the great economic minds saying that's the most important cut. That would be the best cut you could do. We couldn't get the Democrats to even think about
No, even the Republicans don't want the payroll tax cut. None of the great economic minds are saying like, oh yeah, a payroll tax deferment is the way to go. Let's give people $500 and then have them pay it back at Christmas. What?
agreeing to it. It's not the Democrat way, I guess, because it
Democratic.
just seems that whether it's Larry Kudlow or any of your many friends, that's the one they wanted the most. Would you say, Larry? And so we're doing that, and that was never even really discussed because that was taken off the table by the Democrats immediately. And this is every week you get a check, or a month, or bi-weekly. This is a major amount of money that you're getting directly.
That you can't spend.
So it's really, it's a very big number. It's a very substantial number. And this is, don't forget, this is in addition to the $400. And this is
No, it's not in addition to the $400, because if you're unemployed, you get the $400, which we're not going to get, or you're working, you get the payroll tax deferment, which you can't spend.
big number. And now at the end of the year, the assumption that I win, I'm going to terminate the payroll tax, which is another thing that some of the great economists would like to see done, will be.
Yeah, that's a bribe. That's how are you not playing? The question here, I think, was Jim Acosta who asked. I couldn't tell, but that's the voice that I heard. That's the voice I think I heard. And how is that not a bribe, sir? How are you not buying their votes? I'm going to give you $5,000, and if I win, if you vote for me, I will let you keep it.
Paying into Social Security through the general fund, and it works out very nicely. If Biden would win, he wouldn't do that because he's going to double and triple everybody's taxes.
No.
He's going to have to explain that one. And as you know, he's also.
I'm just going to make up a number, and Joe Biden's going to have to explain it. 35,000 and 10,000% of your lifetime earnings.
Going to quadruple regulations. He wants to put regulations on. One of the reasons that we had the kind of
That's
numbers
new.
and big bounces that you've seen. I mean, we closed it up, we saved millions of lives, and now we open it and we bounce right back where we were. It looks like
No.
we'll be bouncing right back where we were. But one of the reasons is because we cut so many horrible regulations. And Biden, with his new partner, Kamala, will,
Kamala.
if you
I think you
think,
got it,
he's
yeah.
going to put it all back, but many times more. I mean, they want to increase regulations, and that's just going to drive companies.
I think for the first time ever, Trump said a name and not in a totally weird way. What is happening? What does this mean? Has the universe shifted? Is it 2021? What is...
out, and it's going to drive people out. It's going to drive them to other countries, and it's going to make us not competitive with other countries. Please, OAN.
Will it make us complete? What, OAN? Did he just point to OAN? Let's go back.
He's going to put it all back, but many times more. I mean, they want to increase regulations, and that's just going to drive companies out, and it's going to drive people out. It's going to drive them to other countries, and it's going to make us not competitive with other countries. Please, OAN.
Yeah.
Mr. President. I'd like to highlight
Calling on OAN right away. It was not Jim Acosta. I don't see Jim there. I don't know who asked that last question. Sorry, first question. OAN.
a kind of odd situation. In the last hour or so, if you Googled Antifa.com, it would take you straight to Joe Biden's website, his official campaign website. Odd situation. We don't know who's behind that.
Okay, hold on. Let's go to Antifa.com. Give me a second here. Oh, you know what? I can do it over here so you guys can see. So this
But
is.
it raises an interesting leadership.
Let's go to Antifa.com and see if it goes to Joe Biden website. Okay, this site is currently unavailable. So, yeah.
Question. Should Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, should they publicly denounce the Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization?
They should. I think they're afraid to. It's, in my book, it's virtually a part of their campaign, Antifa. The Democrats act like, gee, I don't know exactly what that is. Take a look at Portland. Take a look at any place you want to take a look at. They're all over the place. They were here. We put on a 10-year prison sentence if you knock down any statues 2 months ago, and since then we haven't seen much of them. We had to send border security. We sent actually Homeland and border and different forms of Homeland to Portland in order to, you know what we had to do. We had to save. They wanted to knock down a courthouse, a $500 million courthouse. They wanted to burn it down, knock it down, and they were easily able to defend. But the mayor and the governor of the state, they didn't want to do that. And we actually sent our people there, and they did a great job. And they did it easily. But in the meantime, they went to other parts of the city, and they're doing damage. And we're recommending to the governor that they call in national security, call in the National Guard. We're willing to get. We would stop that problem in 1 hour. We sent just defensive measures to protect and save that courthouse from being burned down or knocked down. We also.
Again, the courthouse is huge and it's made of concrete and marble, but the Antifa could have knocked it down with bottles. But the water is frozen inside the bottles, so before you scoff.
A couple of other buildings, federal buildings, because they were unable to do the job. I have to say this: they have really good police. They have a great group of people that if they would be allowed to do their job, same with Chicago and same with New York and a couple of other cities, if they allowed, in Chicago, 25,000 police, and they're really good, but they're not allowed to do their job. In New York, you have New York's finest, but they've totally taken away their incentive. They've taken away their lives, in a sense, because they don't allow them to do their job. They could do that job so easily, you wouldn't have a problem in New York. And that includes with terrorism and everything else. They disband it. They've cut by $1 billion their budget in New York, $1 billion. And crime is up by 200%, 250%, depends on what week you're looking at. It's crazy what's going on in New York. We could solve that problem easily, but we don't have to, because they should be able to do it themselves. But they have to give the honor back. It's an honor. They have to give the honor back to their law enforcement groups. New York is great, so is Chicago. And in Portland, they could do the job. If they don't want to do that, we would send in gladly if they want.
So, but just a reminder, this is all off a question where OAN asked something about an Antifa site forwarding to Joe Biden's website.
The National Guard will take care of it in 1 hour. It'll go very quickly. As we did, by the way, if you take a look in Minneapolis, when they were burning down Minneapolis, a wonderful place, but nobody's ever seen anything like it. After days, the very liberal, and these are all run by...
No one's ever seen a riot where things got burned. No one's ever seen anything like that.
Liberal Democrats. Every place I talk about is run because we have great cities, and they're run by Republicans. Okay, it's there's no magic to it. It's obvious what's going on, and the cities that I mentioned are all run by liberal, very liberal Democrats, and it's very sad when you see what's happening to New York. It's very sad when you see what's happening to other cities, not just those three, other cities. When you look at what's happening, it's not even believable. I left New York almost 4 years ago, and you could see signs of problems because de Blasio was there. He's a horrific mayor, just horrific. I mean, people don't want to go there anymore. He's not only is it bad with crime,
I want to go to New York. I want to go anywhere.
the way he talks about the city and what he does, he's horrific.
A rambling man.
And when I see that, it's a very sad thing. I left almost 4 years ago, right? And when I look and see what's happening to a city that I love, that still has great potential, but it's going to have to be brought back, because what happened in New York is it's not even believable. What's happening in Chicago, where one weekend you had 78 people shot and 18 die in a weekend. And then successive weekends, you have so much of that happening, and it's really not even believable. And if you let
totally believable.
Democrats run this country, and we've stopped it from going other places. If you let Democrats run this country, you'll have all of your cities be just like that. Yeah.
So Democrats running, so Biden gets in, he's president, then he's responsible for the cities that are right now going through these violent crime sprees that Trump is in charge of.
Thank you, Mr. President. The heads of the Boston and Dallas.
Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. President Trump holding his
I want to
daily
hear the
briefing
question.
there. We have it streaming on FoxNews.com. You can see the rest of it.
They gave up. Hold on. Let's see if I can catch it on the C-SPAN. We're going to have to dig around here, guys, and I'm going to have to guess at this. Let me pull this up. So Fox gave up on it. Fox is just like, oh, there's nonsense. cspan.org. And okay, we'll do this. And okay. So he does comment on Antifa, on Kamala.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Oh, this is just a clip. Okay, so this is just a clip answering the question. So let's find the whole thing. Can I get the full event? Here it is right here, sorry. Okay, and what was just said? Well, Antifa. We'll go to Chicago, because we'll go to Chicago. Oh, people don't want to go to New York, so we'll assume he said New York one time. Massive reconstruction, the new look, a new year. No, New York. Let's just look for York. And see full. Hold on, we gotta watch the ad. The ad is not loading. Come on, C-SPAN. Come on, show. Okay, let's jump ahead a little bit here.
Honor. They have to give the honor back to their law enforcement groups. New York is great, so is Chicago.
Well, yeah.
And in Portland, they could do the job. If they don't want to do that, we would send in gladly if they want. The National Guard will take care of it in 1 hour. It'll go very quickly. As we did, by the way, if you take a look in Minneapolis, when they were burning down, about it. Obvious. It's very sad. I left New York. And when I see that, it's a very sad thing. I left. That still has great potential happening in Chicago. Excessive run this.
Thank you, Mr. President. The heads of the Boston and Dallas Fed today said that the economy hasn't recovered strong enough because the country hasn't contained the virus. So what's your response to them, and what did that argue for a stronger federal response?
Well, look, you just saw it. Other countries were doing much better than all other major countries, peer countries.
What?
This chart came out just a little while ago. I thought I'd say, see, it's that kind of a question, the wise guy question.
What?
Because I just went over the whole thing. We're doing better than almost everyone with the economy, and I think we face a headwind because Democrats, perhaps for political reasons, don't want to open up their states, and that's having a huge toll. That's taking a huge toll on people within those states. When you look at North Carolina, you have a man doesn't want to open it up. You look at Michigan, you look at some states. I mean, they just want to keep these people in their houses, in their prisons. They call them prisons. And I think a lot of it's for political reasons.
You guys didn't miss anything.
Because they want to look as bad as possible on November 3rd, but I don't think it's going to matter because we're doing so well in so many ways. As far as the plague is concerned, when you look at the numbers, take a look at what's going on now with other countries. They're having flare-ups that are very, very substantial, and we've done very well. We're helping a lot of those countries, and those were model countries that you used to talk about and say how well they were doing, except they just exploded. They just had very big flare-ups. You understand that. No, we're doing very well, and I don't have to show you the charts again, but those charts are...
You could show us the charts of the flare-ups in these countries. It's like, oh, there we go.
At a level that nobody even thought possible. I think we're going to have a fantastic third quarter. I think next year will be one of the strongest years we've had. And this is with California being closed down. This is where North Carolina and Michigan and...
California isn't closed down. I'm in California right now. We're not closed down. You can eat indoors here.
Tremendous states, great states, are being closed by, for reasons I think that Scott would tell you you disagree with, right? You disagree with. We spent a great amount of time talking about it. We got to open up our country. We understand the disease. We understand who it hits. We have to protect our elderly people, especially our elderly people that are not well. We have to protect them. But we understand it, and we understand it well. We've learned a lot. And we're going to have the vaccine soon, and we're going to have the therapeutic soon. It's going to come out very soon, and we're very proud of the people and the job they've done. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. President. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just appeared together in their first campaign event right before you got up on this podium. Can you tell us if you watched their remarks and give us your reaction to them?
I didn't watch. I saw just a moment of him speaking, a moment of her speaking, and it was enough. Look, he made a choice. He picked her. I watched her. I watched her poll numbers go boom, 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 down to almost nothing. And she left angry. She left mad. There was nobody more insulting to Biden than she was. She said horrible things about him, including accusations made about him by a woman where she, I guess, believed the woman. And now all of a sudden she's running to be vice president, saying how wonderful he is. I thought it was a very unusual pick because she said such bad things, and you know better than anybody what, you know, you won't write it because, you know, you don't want to do that, but you know better than anybody. She said horrible things about him, horrible things. And she mocked him, openly mocked him. That's why I thought that was a very risky pick, because I'm sure that'll be played back, not necessarily by me, but others. It'll be.
This is the same guy who donated to Kamala Harris twice, a total of $6,000. And now he's mocking her. He's mocking her.
The other thing, if you look, she wants a $3 trillion tax hike. No fracking. How do you think no fracking in Pennsylvania is going to play? That's a big fracking state. If you didn't have
Pennsylvania's a big fracking state,
you would have taxes that would triple, and you'd have unemployment that you wouldn't believe. And
that was the swear word in Battlestar Galactica. That's why I find that funny.
Texas last year had the best year they've ever had. Oklahoma.
Let's finish these fracking Cylons.
Almost every state in our nation last year had the best year they've ever had, and they're going to have that again next year. And you can see that by what? But think of it. She wants no fossil fuels. No fossil fuels.
Oh, you guys
Really?
can't see that.
Tell that to Texas. And then I hear Trump is only 1 point up in Texas. No, they said the same thing with crooked Hillary Clinton. They said,
Nope.
Texas is in play. Trump is down in Texas.
No, I don't
And
think.
then I won Texas
Trump was ever
immediately
down
when
in
they
Texas.
said the polls are closed. Trump has won Texas. And I won by a lot. And I won Georgia by a lot. It's the same thing over. It's almost like a duplication of what happened before, except we have much more energy now than we ever did in 2016, and we had a lot. We had record amounts in 2016.
Record amounts of
But
energy.
you take a look at the tax cuts. We gave the biggest tax cut in the history of our country and the biggest regulation cuts in the history of our country by far.
And you killed manufacturing, as your chart showed earlier.
Right? He wants
Right.
to increase everybody's taxes. And she's one of the people that wants that. I mean, you take a look at that. She wants to defund or at least substantially reduce money going to police departments. And you can't do that. You can't do that. It's actually got to be the opposite. I've been endorsed by so many police departments. I'm getting a really good one this week that you'll be seeing. Really big, really good. But who could
Is it healthcare police?
ever, what police department, what law enforcement group could ever support Joe Biden, where he said things that are so bad and so foolish, frankly so stupid in terms of crime and what would happen. So we're getting all of law enforcement. We're getting the military. She wants to spend much less on our military. I've rebuilt the
Did he say criminals isn't in prison?
military. We have the strongest military now. Much of the equipment is coming in, all made in the United States. $2.5 trillion we spent. When I took over, we had a military that was totally, it was in terrible, terrible shape.
Yeah, depleted. Yeah.
It was depleted.
Yeah.
It was a depleted
No
military.
ammunition.
Old planes, old tanks, old everything.
Yeah.
And we have a beautiful, brand new military with the best people in the world. We never had anything like it. Some of the equipment is still coming in. No, we've done a real job, and I think we're going to be extremely successful. I was surprised that he picked her, very surprised because of the horrible way she talked about him, and frankly because she dropped like a rock. I didn't. When I ran against 17 people, most.
When he ran for the first time, he got to one primary and quit because he had dropped like a rock. He couldn't get more than 15% in his primary, and he was only running against 2 other people. This was in 2000, the first time he ran for president that he denies ever happened.
Governors and senators, some others.
One state, and he quit.
Ben Carson was very strong, very good. A couple of others, but mostly governors, mostly senators. And I ran, and I went up. She ran, and she went down to rock bottom. I don't think she ever got to run her first, to take a vote in the first state. So generally speaking, you don't want to pick somebody that went down. She went down, but she went down in a very terrible way, and she said horrible things about Biden. She said far worse
Man, I hate people who say horrible things about Biden.
about Biden than I ever did. And now she's running as vice president. So how does that work? Please, in the back.
Mr. President, thanks for taking my question. I'm wondering tonight if you might have any words of encouragement for middle schoolers or high schoolers starting the school year strictly online who might be frustrated, wondering how they're going to get through the next quarter, missing their friends and teachers. Just wondering if you might have any words of encouragement for them.
It's such a fair question, such a good question. Yeah, I mean, you hear what I was
Who is that guy? Is he with like Christian News Daily or something like that?
saying, where Scott will be involved, and he'll be talking to you over the next couple of days, what he's saying from great experience. No, I feel very badly for him. And I have a feeling that on November 4th, somebody's going to announce schools are open, the country's open, everything's open. I really believe a lot of it's done for political reasons.
Somebody's going to announce that? I mean, he'll still be the president on November 4th. Does he understand that?
You want to know the truth? I think so. But you're right. Online is not the same as being in the classroom, and that's been proven. It's been proven loud and clear. Yeah. Any other questions?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have warned several times that if Joe Biden is elected president, that there will be an invasion in suburban neighborhoods. It's a sentiment that you expressed in a tweet again this morning. What exactly do you mean by invasion?
What I mean is people are going to become, they're going to be opening up areas of your neighborhood, which they're doing, and now they're going to do, they wanted to expand it, and they will expand it. If for any reason they're going to, in my opinion, destroy suburbia. And just so you understand, 30% plus of the people living in suburbia are minorities. African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, They're minorities, 30%.
He just nailed down the question of, are you talking about minorities moving to the suburbs? Because there was some question. No, he's not saying, he's saying low income, not minorities, was the response from the Republican pundits. No, he's not. You're the one who's the racist. He's not saying minorities, and he immediately makes it about minorities.
The number's even higher. They say 35, but I like to cut it a little bit lower. You know why? That way I can never get myself in too much trouble with the fake.
By talking about minorities not being allowed to move to the
News.
suburbs.
But 30% plus are minorities living in suburbia.
Yeah.
And when they go in and they want to change zoning so that you have lots of problems, where they want to build low-income housing, you want something where people can aspire to be there, not something where it gets hurt badly. And that's what happens.
What gets hurt?
With suburban women, suburban men, I think they feel very strongly about what I'm doing. It's a very fair question. It's a very important question. But they fought all their lives to be there, and then all of a sudden,
Marcy, you're a Howley.
Something happened that changes their life and changes what they fought for so many years. John, please.
Two quick ones. If I
John
can.
Roberts, Fox News.
I know you were briefed on it. Have you decided where you're going to give your acceptance speech yet?
So we're looking at Gettysburg, a magnificent site. I've been there a number of times, just a magnificent site. And we're looking at the White House. And I would say it's really down to those two. The
So
White
the answer
House
is
would
no.
be
No, the
much
answer is
easier
no.
from the standpoint of Secret Service and, the movement of hundreds of people, as you know. I would say we love them both. I love Gettysburg, but this is simpler. Would be magnificent. The White House is the White House is the White House. Gettysburg is one of the great and historic sites of our country. Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, of the world. So one of those two. I'll probably be announcing it over the next week or so. Maybe.
I had a question about payroll taxes. If you permanently rescind the payroll tax,
Yeah.
how do you pay for Social Security?
We're taking it out of the general fund, and what
incur
we'll
huge
do.
deficits.
Yeah, what we'll be doing is, if we do that, we'll get it approved. In that case, by Congress.
You're going to get it approved by Congress. John Roberts just said in that case, you're going to have a huge deficit, which is true.
And we'll take the money from other places other than, we will not take it from Social Security
But
in
how-
any way, shape, or form.
How do you fund it from the general fund when the general fund just incurred a debt of $2.8 trillion?
You're right, but we're going to have tremendous growth. We have tremendous growth. You take a look at what's happening here.
So the national debt has risen every year under President Trump. The deficit that contributes to the national debt, that's how the debt happens. The deficit every year becomes the debt and just piles onto the debt. The deficit has increased under President Trump, and this doesn't count coronavirus times. The deficit has increased under President Trump since President Obama by 50%. In 2019, our deficit will turn out to be about $1 trillion. In 2020, far greater, because we're giving all this money, pumping it into the economy. You cannot pay for, no matter how much, we saw the charts earlier. He said the tax cut was going to spur economic growth. And with that, what happens is you have the economic growth, and then you tax that economic growth, and the money comes back into the fund. The trouble is, when you cut the taxes, the economic growth that didn't happen, again, we were at 2.1 GDP. 2.1%. That's pathetic. To put that into perspective, China was at 6.1. 2.1% GDP, and you've taken the taxes away. Where's the money coming from? Trick question, it isn't. And that's why our national debt is, hold on, you guys watch this for a second. And
Next year, unless somebody comes in who doesn't know what they're doing and they start raising taxes and forcing everybody to leave the country or leave their jobs and companies to close, we will have tremendous growth. You will see growth like you haven't seen in a long time.
Mr. President, since you didn't see Kamala Harris's remarks today,
$26.6 trillion is our national debt. Oh, you YouTubers are blocking everything. There, see? Fracking YouTubers.
I wonder if we could just get you to respond to one thing that she said.
Sure.
She said that your refusal to get testing up and running, I'm paraphrasing, you're flip-flopping on social distancing and masks, and your delusional belief that you know better than the experts, all of that, in her words, a reason that one American dies of COVID-19 every minute. What do you
80
think of
seconds.
I think that's probably one of the reasons she was a terrible candidate and was forced to leave the race, because she got her facts wrong. You know, she's very bad on facts.
She's got her
very
facts
weak
wrong.
on facts. And just so
The guy who so far today has gotten $10,000 confused with 10% of lifetime income, that has said both 3,500 and 35,000% are the same thing, claims that Kamala Harris gets her facts wrong.
you understand,
Yeah,
we've done
I
more
understand.
testing than any country in the world by far. That includes India, which has 1.5 billion people. That includes China. That includes every country in the world. We've done more testing.
No,
have
China
better
has done more testing
than any country in the world. They call, they want to know, where do we get it? How do
No,
we get it?
they do not
we have
call.
better testing than any country in the world.
They don't.
When you
Governor
do as
DeWine
much
has proven
testing
that.
as us, however, as you understand, you develop more cases. If you tested on set of 65 million people, which is what we've done,
We still have a
when you
quarter
test
of
that
the
many
world's
people,
death.
you're going to find cases that normally you wouldn't see. If you go to Mexico and you go to other countries, you'll see they do almost no testing. They test if somebody's not feeling well.
Millions.
They test if somebody is symptomatic. They test very little. They test very little. We've done more testing than anybody in the world. We've done the best job of any country in the world, and that includes from making ventilators that nobody else could have done.
I've shown this chart many times before. South Korea tested at the beginning in February. We both got the virus on the same day. On or about January 21st is what they think. South Korea, United States, both got the virus at the same time. By the end of February, South Korea had done 180,000 tests. The United States hadn't done 4,000 tests. They caught the virus. They crushed the virus. They didn't shut down their economy. We have 165,000 deaths. I haven't checked the number in a couple of days. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, or don't. What does it even matter? Here's what matters. 165,000 deaths for Trump. South Korea, the last time I looked a couple of days ago, 302. 165,000 versus 302. That's the difference that testing makes. And the reason we didn't do the testing is because Trump's CDC screwed it up. It was contaminated in the manufacturing process. And rather than address the problem and fix it, everyone who wants a test gets a test. There's what it is.
Are the ventilator king of the world. We're supplying the whole world now in a few short months with ventilators that
We're not talking
are
about
very
ventilators.
hard to produce, very expensive, very complex, very delicate, very, very important. We've done a great job. And then on top of
I want to show you guys this. Now, you know what? I don't want to screw anything up right now because of all the weird things happening with YouTube. You goddamn fracking YouTubers. Okay, just imagine Trump on the screen at the CDC, at a government agency, on an official White House trip wearing a Keep America Great hat, saying anybody who wants a test gets a test. That's what it is.
of that, when you look at the numbers, how we were impacted less than these other countries, and now you look at the explosion of countries that you would have said did such a good job, and some of them had advantages over us for obvious reasons having to do with the pandemic. But when you...
Again, Trump is saying we were impacted less than other countries. We have 5 million cases. 25% of the deaths, we only have 5% of the population. 25% of the deaths, and somehow he's able to rationalize us being impacted so much less than other countries.
Look at the job that we've done compared to others. We've done a great job. And I read today that she's very short on facts. I think she's going to be a big failure, and I look forward to the debate between her and Mike Pence, because I think he'll do even better against her than he did against Senator Kaine, which was a total wipeout. So we'll see how it all works out.
Senator Kane. Does anybody remember Senator Kane? Does anybody know what he's talking about?
All right, one more. Yeah, please, in the back.
Mr. President,
Please.
thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Lee?
No, in the back, please.
Thank you. Just ask, what do you say to those critics who argue you're trying to sow distrust in democracy and deliberately trying to sabotage the post office to undermining mail-in voting, which a lot of people need?
I say the Democrats are sabotaging the post office because they're not approving $25 billion that was requested. So they're sabotaging the post office.
No. 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 I'm not even going to address that. I'm done. Let's see where he goes with this.
And they're not allowing the post office to function properly, and they're certainly not allowing universal mail-in votes when they do that.
I know it's Tim Kaine. I know, guys. I'm joking.
But equally importantly, they're not allowing $3.5 billion in funds to do voting that they'd like to do. Therefore, all of this...
No. Okay. The HEROES Act is already passed by the Democrats. They're not allowing their own act. They said yes already. Now, somehow in his head, he's twisted it around to saying the Democrats passed the money and won't pass it.
And all of the tremendous mistakes that were made with regard to mail-in voting, all of these tremendous mistakes, you can't even do it. I would imagine.
The joke is how forgettable Kaine was, but
Imagine
anyway.
the courts, this is in many courts right now. They're showing all of the disasters that have taken place just in the last short period of time, in the last 2 months, with respect to universal mail-in voting. It's just like a total catastrophe what's happening, and we can't let that happen. Go ahead, real fast.
Mr. President, I'm
Sure, go ahead.
One is about, you had graphs about the economics of COVID, but deaths in America are still going up, whereas in Europe, right now, 0 deaths in UK, 0 deaths in France.
What's going up by cases, if you look at cases, and the cases are going up because we do so much testing and we find it, and I call it fake media gold, because we do so much more testing than any other country, and when you do all that testing, you find cases. Go ahead.
Great question, but it did nothing because he can't comprehend. He didn't let the guy finish to the point where he says, we had 1,250 dead Americans yesterday. France had none. No dead French people, not dead Americans.
We've taken a lot of money from China in the last year and a half.
On the last year?
Well, you would pull out of the trade deal with China if they're not meeting their commitment.
We've taken a lot of money from China in the last year and a half that no other president has taken in. We've done things to China that nobody else has done to China, even thought of doing it, with 25% tariffs and taken in billions and billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, and given the farmers, as an example, $12 billion one year, $16 billion another year, and made the farmers extremely happy. You don't hear them complaining. They would target.
Record suicide amongst the farmers. But, they're tremendously happy. They're like, woohoo!
By China. But I'm very angry at China because they let this
By the way, I don't mean to be insensitive. If you're in the audience and you've committed suicide at some point, I apologize. It's a tough crowd today.
Horrible disease. They let this horrible plague come into our country and come into the world. And they should have been able to stop it. They stopped it from going into China. They should have been able to stop it.
You should have been able to stop it.
So I'm very angry at China. Thank you.
I'm very angry at you.
It's not $400, it's $300 from the federal government. So why are you saying it's $400?
Oh, Caitlin couldn't ask her question. That was a good question, though. Wow, that was 1 hour and 3 minutes of Trump. And Dr. Scott, who spoke and said, thank you for letting me speak. It's good to be here, everybody. I just flew in from Stanford, and boy, are my... I don't know what else to say here, guys. That took us 2 hours and 3 minutes. So that was 2 minutes for every minute of Trump. I don't know whether we'll apologize or complain. I'm blaming it on the YouTubers. Fracking YouTubers, fracking Marcy and Dr. Howard and Stephanie And Allison, good to see you all. Thanks for coming here today, by the way. Thanks for hanging in, those of you who did. Hi, Ben. Good to see you. Olix, I saw you in there as well. I think most everybody's tuned out by now. No, 12 people are still watching on YouTube. Hey, if you'd like to support me, tune in tomorrow. That is going to be Charity Day. It is my birthday tomorrow. It is my Kevin Lee birthday. And we're going to be raising money for booksandbricks.org. You can check them out now. We'll talk a little bit about them tomorrow. We'll do some broadcasting. Again, theoretically, I never know what's going to happen with my day. I've got a lot of stuff backlogged from yesterday. We got the Sean Hannity interview. We're not going to do the press conference from yesterday, I don't think, because I did get a chance to listen to it, and it was this nonsense. So I don't think we need to do that one. There was an interview on a sports station, a radio interview that I haven't heard, so maybe we'll cover that as well. We got a lot of things to do, but more importantly tomorrow, I want tomorrow to be all about, Rich isn't here, we can't do Billy Joel Madness. I want tomorrow to be all about the charity, so that will be what's going on tomorrow. If you guys see me tomorrow, and I've still got this paypal.me/KevinLeeDad, yell at me, make me stop the broadcast and come back with booksandbricks.org. or whatever. I got to figure out, there's a special section of booksandbricks.org that has to do with my mother's, specifically her side of the charity. So it's important right now. We're going to do this tomorrow, and I want you to think about this and just remember this. I want to put this into perspective. The charity, booksandbricks.org, raises money to pay for children in Kenya, which is in Africa, to go to school. These are children without any means whatsoever. They live in a hut with a dirt floor, but education is their ticket out of there. And this is more important than ever right now because children isn't at school. That's the absolute truth. Folks, here's some wonderful people who make this all possible. If you want to be part of the closing credits, I don't want you to give me any money right now. I want you to save the money, and I want you to give the money. Tell your friends. I'll put out a tweet in the morning. If I don't, somebody send me a DM saying, hey, put it out there. I'll try and have some sort of schedule or something. I don't know. It's my birthday, so I got things going on. I want you guys tomorrow to bring, if each one of you brings in 5,000 friends, we're going to send all those kids to school. Because nothing is worse than children isn't at school. Good night, everybody.
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?